All right, welcome to another Noria webinar. I do want to thank our sponsors here, KCF Technologies, that's bringing us some of their content. And today we're going to be talking about predictive analytics and the machine health solution that they have to offer. Now, we know that, across multiple industries, we have got manpower shortages. Maybe we don't have people in the plants that are skilled enough to actually know what's going on, and we've got to train them up. Well, we're starting to see more and more of these solutions out there where we are able to monitor things remotely and get some heads up before things actually fail. Now, as with all Noria webinars, this one is a moderated webinar, so feel free if you have questions to put your questions in the chat feature of the platform here, and someone will be responding. We also will have a Q&A session here towards the end of the webinar where some of these questions will be answered in real time. So by all means, sit back, relax. You're going to see a lot of great information. Now, with this, we feel like, in studio, we can only, describe so much. So what we're actually going to do is go on site to an aggregate facility up in Pennsylvania that looked at this KCF solution and implemented it to, increase their operational efficiency, to help, get early warnings when machines were going to go bad, and to actually see that, all right, this technology is not just, a bunch of, buzzwords and stuff like this. It actually works. So with that, let's go out to our people in the field.
My name is Jeff Detweiler. I'm the president of construction materials at New Enterprise Stone and Lime. Customer service is kind of one of the foundations at New Enterprise, and what we found out was that we weren't servicing our customer the way we wanted to. So understanding and trying to get from a reactive to a predictive effort is critical to servicing our customers. So not only does it add operational efficiency, it also adds safety. And it ends up servicing our customers when they need the product that we provide. We anticipate almost a 50% turnover in our workforce. So we have 40-year veteran coworkers that have learned our plants and know them in the back of their hand. They can smell something, hear something, but when they go away, when they retire, the next generation coming up doesn't have that expertise. So with the KCF equipment, we're able to actually put monitors in play to try to accelerate their experience so that they can operate the plants with the high level of efficiency, but not the years of experience. So we're able to try to hopefully be better with a younger workforce or less experienced workforce. So in the past 6 months, there have been about 2,000 triggers, and those triggers resulted in about 100 actionable items that we're able to take, whether it be greasing or a premature failure, and we're able to actually prevent a failure from occurring. So I mean, that's kind of the evolution. We go from being reactive to predictive, and predictive is where we want to be. So I mean, this is a new relationship for us, but it's impressive to see KCF's efforts in coming hands-on. One of the conversations we had with is that they're coming on site, working with our coworkers hand in hand, and that's where you build a level of trust with our coworkers to get the best results. So it's when you have a partner in this, and it's coming out and seeing the sites being integrated, it just adds a lot of value. So we appreciate that. I think we're just on the cusp of learning all of AI. It's so new, but we always think about the more data we have, the better decisions we can make. So I think the sky's the limit, but we're in the journey, and we're going to embrace it and try to be as effective as we can for our operations.
Today, we have a lot of data. We don't need more data. We need the right data, and we need the ability for coworkers to access it quickly when they need it. My name is Jim Murkowski. I'm the Vice President of Information Technology for New Enterprise Stone and Lime. So I'm in charge of all the infrastructure, IT operations, as well as selecting new technology for the business. But more importantly, I have a group of business analysts that engage with the business, understand their needs, understand what we have, what we're missing, what we want to have, and then go out to the marketplace and find and select and implement new technologies to support the business and the operation of the business. Advice for organizations that are implementing these types of technologies: one, have clear objectives. Know where your biggest opportunities are. But balance those big ambitions with practical applications. Do a pilot, demonstrate that you really get value. Drive adoption by engaging coworkers early. Measure your results and prove to the business that it's worth the investment in technology. Next thing is have clean data. Garbage in, garbage out, we all know the saying, and AI can make really good decisions quickly. It can make really bad decisions quickly. So prepare your organization, make sure you have clean data, engage your workforce, and then realize that at the end of the day, your people are the key to your success. I like to say it's the biology, not the technology, that make these projects succeed or fail. For instance, we could put all the technology that we want on our plants to predict failures using any technology, but without Larry to understand what that technology does, to drive it, and then to engage with our coworkers that will take that actionable information and actually act on it, the product will have no value. So I would think about that, make sure you've got a champion and you're engaging all your stakeholders early and often to drive adoption and make the technology usable and actionable.
I'm Larry Kessler. I am the HMA Hot Mix Asphalt Performance Manager at New Enterprise. One of the tools that I use, have started using, is the KCF technology equipment health equipment that we've installed on about 15 asphalt plants and 3 aggregate plants across our company, just in the rollout this year. When I started here, I found that we did have reliability issues. We had uptime issues, which I think is endemic to this industry, not necessarily this company as a whole. The company I came from had the same problems. But I did feel that we needed to get a better handle on reliability, which involves getting away from reactive maintenance, again, which is typical in this industry. I'd had previous experience with using predictive health sensors, and I felt that that would be a good addition to trying to get a better handle on our own reliability and uptime issues that we had here. KCF actually approached me to see if I was interested in a pilot. Their proximity, their main headquarters, their proximity made it easier for me to say yes, because it was simple to get them down and do the install. And once we had that pilot in, we actually had good results fairly quickly. I think within the first few weeks, we had a catch that probably saved tens of thousands of dollars. And then over the next 2 months, we had more of that. So we knew that this was a viable technology and a viable system. We did do the pilot, 2 different plants, an aggregate plant and asphalt plant, and had good success. We were able to show operations that this is, again, a viable means for good actionable data, and we rolled that out from there. We had a fan that was showing obvious distress, and we were able to call out to the operators, and they were able to get it shut down before we had any major damage. They are large and heavy, and like much of the other equipment that we have here, if you do let it run too long in a bad state, you risk catastrophic and expensive damage. Currently, we have it on our most critical 24/7 aggregate plants. One supports a cement operation, 2 are in manufactured sand production. But we have large aggregate sites, equipment that has 600 horsepower motors running on them, massive gears, all of which can be protected by using this technology to detect damage before it becomes critical. We spent, I think, a course of 3 weeks rolling this out over the 18 sites. And, but they had, once the hardware was in, the dashboards and the monitoring was almost immediate, within days. of having it installed. We had usable data coming back. As we get data coming back in, I am not a trained vibration analyst, and we don't have any in the company, but that we can still use it because KCF has the analysts, so we pay to use their analysts to do the data interpretation. However, the data that I see on my dashboard is actionable by me in that I get email notices when I have an issue with a piece of machinery, and then I can forward that email to our personnel or use that email to drill down into the dashboard to see what the issues are. In our KCF system, it's all based around these wireless sensors. Each one monitors vibration, motion, and temperature, among a host of other things that KCF uses for their own analysis, internal analysis. Those three are what I pay attention to. They are magnetic. They're really easy to install. You just slap them on. They've got pretty good strength. They're not going to shake off. Every system also needs at least a base station. That base station collects the data, and then there's a cell connection that sends that data back up to the cloud and to the KCF servers, and those servers in turn send it back to my web-based dashboards. With the Smart Diagnostic app, I can get online and see a dashboard of what's going on with my equipment. This is an example where we had an issue on a screen bearing. You can see where normal operation was, and we picked up this spike that identified that we had an issue. We were able to determine we had bad bearings. We changed them out, and you can see where it goes back to normal operation.
All right, welcome back to the studio. Now, as you can see, not the greatest environment for machinery there. We've got, heavy equipment, we've got a lot of dust, a lot of debris. And to really kind of understand some of how this solution worked out there, we're lucky to introduce Levi Heilman here with us. And Levi, why don't you do a little introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Yeah, as he said, my name's Levi Heilman. I've been with KCF now for about 6 years, just over, and started as a vibration analyst. Originally, mechanical engineering major from Penn State University, and a stark contrast, as we just saw on site, the difference between what you learn in a textbook versus what you see in the plants, right? How to apply the things that we're looking at, in the real world. And so that's kind of been the story of my time at KCF is, the textbook version versus what actually matters in the plants. I've been an analyst, I've been in sales, and now I'm in customer success. And I love this role because it gives me an opportunity to really understand the practical fit for a technology like this in the real world and how it works.
And I love what you said there about like the textbook to the field, because it doesn't always cross. And even different industries, you have unique challenges. The aggregate business that we just saw, a lot different than pharmaceutical or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no comparing one method to the next when you switch industries and look at some of these heavier type production facilities. So it's been a pleasure to work with them.
Yeah. All right, so we have gathered some of the questions here, and I think that this will be good. We'll just have a little bit of a back and forth here.
Totally.
So one of the first ones here is, how do you approach customers with varying levels of reactivity?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, this really highlights the textbook doesn't always apply. Yeah. I like to think of it a lot like an emergency room in a hospital. If you think about the severity of an injury and you equate that to machine health, we have to take care of the critical things first,
it's
right?
Triage.
Right. Before we can do physical therapy, we have to stop the bleeding, And in a lot of the facilities, they're coming to KCF for a solution because there's bleeding, right?
Yeah.
The change only happens often when it's forced in a lot of cases, right? The machine, what's the saying? You either you plan your maintenance or the machine plans it for you, right? Exactly. And so in a lot of the cases, when you need, a greater heads up on the health of your equipment, it's because you have a lot of pain associated with failure.
Sure.
And so, we talked about, you mentioned pharmaceuticals. I spent a lot of time analyzing pharmaceutical equipment where it's regulated, it's 68 degrees on the dot, the humidity is controlled, and that's a stark contrast to what we just saw at New Enterprise, right, in their facilities. So managing that reactivity, first and foremost, is acknowledging the current state, where the customer's at and what they need to address first. We can't go to precision alignment and balancing and precision lubrication until we take care of the things that are going to put them down for days at a time.
Well, it's an evolution, right? I mean, because most people start and, all right, you're brand new into maintenance. You're probably thinking, well, I'm here to fix things, right? Things are broken. I got to get it running. And you get this attaboy, this slap on the back. Good job. You got it up and running again.
Yeah.
So we almost reinforce this, that machine failures is okay. And you have to break that at some point. Yeah, precision maintenance goes a long way with that. I've read that people change because of 3 reasons: crisis, profitability, or aspiration. And it's really one of those 3 that people have to go into. Now, you'd love to see the people that just aspire to do better, and that's great. But unfortunately, I think crisis and profitability are the 2 main ones that most organizations, fall into.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you've heard of the overtime hero. The guy that comes in at 2 in the morning because everything is down and they need help now. We've, in a lot of cases, through recent history, structured our manufacturing organizations to celebrate that behavior.
I know.
As opposed to celebrate the predictive behavior. And that's one of the great privileges of my job is, as an analyst, the general traditional idea of a vibration analyst is, I'm going to come in and I'm going to give you insight that you didn't have before, and I'm going to save the day.
It's a heads up.
Exactly. But when you look at, my role now, I have the privilege of making the precision, the proactive, the right behaviors, the hero behavior, as opposed to the reactive behavior. You know what I mean? So that's the great shift that we see as KCF, and I think we're going to see it more often, is how do we get away from being the overtime hero? Yes, tensions were high, a lot of dollars on the line, and you came in and you saved the day. But if we look at what the P to F curve does, we could have saved the day months ago, years ago.
Well
even.
up the slope.
Exactly.
I think this actually goes well into our next question here. When evaluating machine health solutions, what factors are most important? So PF curve, talking about machines failing, talking about dollars and cents of machines failing. But, when you're starting this and you're helping someone design a program, what does that begin with? What are some of these things you're looking at?
Yeah, it has to be flexible to the customer's reality, as we just said. Accelerometers are everywhere. You can put them on anything.
We've got how many in our phones right now?
Exactly, and you can take data, but is that data impactful? Is it meaningful? Does it do something for you and your organization? So one of the key factors that I focus on first is, how adaptable and flexible is the sensor technology that the company's offering? Us at KCF, yes, the closed loop system that we have with our vibration sensors allows us to go pretty much anywhere. I mean, you saw it in New Enterprise, slap the sensor on and you're recording data, right? You're pulling it in. But in addition to that, we've also focused a lot of time and energy on more complex solutions as well, because we understand that a wireless vibration sensor covers a lot of balance of plant equipment, a lot of very important equipment, but when we start talking about things like overhead cranes in the steel industry, or we start talking about dredges in an aggregate mine, where the sensor's actually underwater, all of these sort of things, you have to have that flexibility and a solution suite that can cover the criticality of a plant. And so, that would be one of the first and foremost most important factors, is how flexible are you and how well can you address the real problems that we have? Because we can monitor pumps, we can monitor fans all day long, but that doesn't cover extreme criticality and the things that are most important to a facility.
Do you feel people lean in towards kind of the easier machines to monitor, maybe a little bit too much, and they kind of push away or maybe neglect the ones that are more difficult?
Yeah, it really does vary, but I would say, it's often the case because that's a traditional type vibration analysis candidate, right? The candidate itself.
Yeah, this pump and motor back here that you can easily walk up to.
Yeah,
that's a great candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can put a sensor on those guys and you'll be monitoring immediately. Now, it is harder to put, a more complex triggered solution like our IoT hub, for example. One of the projects I've had a privilege of helping to develop was overhead crane monitoring in the steel industry.
Gotcha.
And that is a connection with a PLC on the crane, or even we can take a current signal coming into the motor and trigger the readings off of that.
There you go.
But by having triggered readings, you're taking a very variable operation asset like a crane and making it steady state in the data, because you're taking that reading at the same motion every time. And that's just something traditionally could never be monitored with vibration. So being able to connect with assets like that, or robots in the automotive industry, or whatever it is, those are critical, right?
Yeah.
Because if that hot ladle crane in a steel mill goes down, there's no production.
So how do you measure success from one company to the next?
Yeah, great question, and we could spend the rest of the day talking about it.
Success comes in many forms.
Yeah, totally. At the end of the day, downtime matters everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hours of downtime, minutes of downtime, even seconds of downtime, in a lot of cases, matter. Whatever units that converts to in the bottom line of that organization is going to vary, right? In the automotive industry, it's cars. In the steel industry, it's usually hours of downtime associated with a specific process, but it's going to vary piece to piece. For me personally, being that my role is customer success, I'm focused on what success means on the individual level, as opposed to just the organization, right? Does that guy that traditionally, when that failure happened, have to come in at 1 in the morning? Does he get to be at home with his family? That's also success. You know, are guys constantly dealing with the same piece of equipment because the mean time between failure is so short? Can we stretch that out? That's also success. The components of OEE are important. So from customer to customer, as you look at it, yes, it all comes back to downtime, but the impacts of that downtime are going to change from place to place.
Sure. I mean, you've probably seen the same as I have. You go into one facility and they say for every hour of downtime we have this cost that could be astronomical.
Right.
You go into others where people are, their kids are at school plays and stuff without the dad there because he's still working at the plant. So quality of life has a big impact to this. The dollars 100%. At the end of the day. There's even environmental impacts to this that make a big difference. When you're talking about, we deal in the lubrication aspect. If we're able to extend an oil change out from doing it every 6 months to every couple years by using the proper lubricant, think about what oil is now not being disposed of. That's a huge carbon, net gain.
Yeah, totally. And you think about things like air scrubbers and air handlers and bag house fans, all the components that feed a process and clean the components of the process that are being released. Those are absolutely critical, not only from a fine perspective, but also, like you said, an environmental perspective. If we can do better, with where we're at in the world and what we're leaving behind, certainly we're having an impact, and that's a key focus of KCF as well. Is can we make things sustainable? Can we make things more healthy? For sure.
I think we have time for one more question. So what are some common mistakes companies make when implementing a machine health solution?
Yeah, this is a fun conversation. It's a conversation that I get to have with customers very often. And the first answer usually is just dipping your toe in, right?
Not actually going in.
Yeah, going halfway. Does the organization itself support what these guys are doing, or are they just kind of letting the maintenance team do their thing with it? You know? Because in order to have any real meaningful impact, we have to start talking about behavior change, right? We've been doing the same thing for 30 years, 40 years, whatever it is at this facility. The only way to see a real meaningful impact is by doing things differently, right? And the organization has to support that change. If they don't, and they say, hey, you're going to get an early notification that the crane bearings are going bad or whatever, but we're not necessarily going to supply the ability to change them early. We're not going to take the downtime, right? We're not going to have a down day to go address it proactively. Then all of it's for loss, right?
Yeah.
So one of the biggest and most crucial pieces of these programs not taking off, I would say, is that, right? Does the organization support that behavior change?
I love this. We work with people for, let's call it, their lubricant analysis program, oil analysis or anything else, where they say, all right, yes, we believe that this is a good thing to do. We'll take oil samples of our critical machines. But that's almost where it stops. They take a sample, they send it to a lab, they get the data back. They don't ever do anything with the data. They're like, no, it's good because we're taking oil samples. But you've got to connect those dots. You have to actually take action on something.
Yeah. One of my, I have the privilege to work with a steel mill in Arizona, and the customer I have down there, you know, he's unlike anything I've ever seen because he's been in maintenance, but he behaves as a reliability engineer.
Okay.
His entire career, he's focused on if it fails once, great, we caught it. Let's never let it fail again.
There you go.
know, and that's his
Good
attitude. That's
mentality.
his idea.
Yeah.
And so when we came to him, he was the most skeptical prospect I've ever had as a customer. He was kind of voluntold to own the project, and you know, unfriendly glances, I guess, would be the interaction that I had with him in talking to him about what this program could do for him, because he just didn't believe it. Right?
Yeah.
He didn't necessarily trust the technology. But once I proved it, once we proved it as an organization that it works and that it was going to do valuable things for him, you know, now he's the biggest advocate for the system in the world. And his motto is, I as a customer have to help you help me,
Yeah.
right? So if they aren't willing to engage, and the customer, the maintenance professionals aren't necessarily willing to give the program, you know, its due diligence, then it's not going to go anywhere, because it is a partnership, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you that I as KCF and our sensors are going to change your reality. They're going to give you the ability to make different decisions.
Right. It's a conduit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. You're giving them information. So,
Right.
I mean, it's all right. You have to buy into it.
Right.
You have to take action.
Yeah.
You know, to actually change, right? And you've got to, I guess, you know, put it on the right equipment that's actually going to showcase something, as
Yeah.
opposed to just picking the easy stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, you know, what are some common mistakes? I mean, like a true, real FMEA of your facility is critical.
Sure.
When you start looking at why are we going to put the sensors where we're going to put them? Is it because there's a real cost impact or a risk associated with that? Is there redundancy or not redundancy? When you start to break down all those factors, if we actually take the time up front to get that right,
Kind of more targeted. at
yeah,
that
the
point.
program sails smooth. One of the core behaviors that we talk about at KCF internally is slowing down to go fast, right?
There you go.
We want to go fast. We want to be effective. We want to be pointed. We want to have you know, the right outcomes. But if we don't slow down in the beginning and get it right, oftentimes we're coming right back to the start again. You
And
know,
kind of revisiting
Yeah.
this. What is it you don't plan to fail, you fail
Yeah,
to plan, so
yeah.
put the time up front.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Part of the Toyota way, if you've ever read the book, is they talk a lot about you know, the idea that if you have time to redo it, you had time to plan it.
Yeah.
Right. And I
Absolutely.
think oftentimes the planning stages are cut too short because there's a lot of energy and momentum up front to get things moving.
Want to see something happening.
Exactly. Oftentimes because these programs are being implemented in an emergency state.
Sure.
Right? They're having failures. We need to get these failures out of the way. So we're going to move into this thing and get it going. We want to see the results. We're impatient about it, right? and I think, yeah, we can get to those results. And KCF is very proud about the fact that we can, you know, start trending data the same day we leave site. As soon as the sensors are installed, we're moving. But are they in the right spots? Did we take some time to make sure we got it right up front? And that's, I think, true about any of these things we've talked about. You know, is the success defined correctly? Is all
I
of those
think you're
things,
right.
you know?
Now, unfortunately, we're kind of low on time here, but how would people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can definitely reach out to KCF. Go to our website at kcftech.com. We have a number of different ways to connect with us there, and you know, as well as social media sites and things like that. But you know, we're looking forward to making more of an impact in the United States in our manufacturing facility. So if you're interested, if anything we talked about related to your reality at your facility, definitely give us a call.
Well, we definitely appreciate KCF for joining us. Levi, it's been great. And for all you, thank you for joining us for another Noria webinar. If your question didn't get answered, don't worry. Someone will be following back up with you. We'll catch you again here on the next Noria webinar.